Hello and welcome to Basic Arithmetic Without a Calculator. I'm Elizabeth Johnson and this is Lesson 8, Order of Operations or BIDMAS. This little acronym you see in front of you sometimes is a bit different. You've got BIDMAS here, brackets, indices, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. But sometimes the I changes depending on where you're at in the country or where you're at in the world. Sometimes the I is an E and it means exponents. Sometimes it's an O and it doesn't really mean anything at all. But what they're talking about is what order of operations you should do. And by operations we mean the four basic operations of mathematics: division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. This is representing when you see more than one of these operations in a single problem, which ones you should do first, because if you don't do them in the right order, you don't get the right answer. Now we're going to start by talking about brackets, because brackets are the first thing you should always zero in on when you have a problem with multiple operations. For example, this one. You've got addition and multiplication in the same problem, but you've got, more importantly, brackets. And not only one set of brackets, but two. So remember, whenever you see brackets, go to them first and solve them, and always start with the inside bracket first. Once you've solved the inside bracket, you can work your way to the outer brackets. In this case, you've got 2 times 3, that's 6. So the inside bracket is solved. Now we'll move on to the outside bracket. You've got 6 plus 4, and that's 10. Now you can add that to the 1 plus at the beginning of the problem, 1 plus 10, and you get 11. And so that's how you work with brackets. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to work with are going to be these indices that I told you about. And indices is like an exponent, and when we're talking about indices, exponents, or powers, we're talking about this little number 4 that's hanging up at the top of the 5 here. So what we're talking about, it's easy to look at this and say, oh yes, 5 to the power of 4, that means 5 times 4. Well, that would be incorrect, because 5 to the power of 4 does in fact mean you're going to write out the number 5 4 times. And you're going to put a multiplication symbol in between each one, like this. 5, written out 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Multiplication symbols in between each one. So you can see that 5 times 5 is 25. Multiply that times 5 again, and you're going to have 125. One more time, and you end up with 625, and you've got a very, very different answer from 5 times 4. So remember, when you've got powers, you write out the big number, the little number of times. So write the big number, which is 5, 4 times. Okay, so that's indices, also known as exponents. The next thing you're going to look at in a problem with multiple operations is going to be the division and multiplication, which both are the same strength. And they get done from left to right. So if you find a problem and you've got multiplication and division in the same problem, well, it doesn't matter which one you do first. Just start at the left and work your way across. The most important thing is that if you do have division and multiplication, you do it first before you start on your addition and subtraction. Just like in real life, you always have to do the hard work first and the easy things come last. Okay, let's have a look at how this works. Here's a practice sheet for us. All right, what we've got here are a few problems, and they're all order of operations. So we're going to start out with the first one, and this is our little reminder about BIDMAS, about what gets done first. Number 1, let's look for brackets. And in the first case, we do see brackets. We've got 15 minus 3. And so 15 minus 3 is 12. And now that that's finished, I can do the rest of it. 12 times 4, well, that's going to be 48. Now let's try B. Again, you start with your brackets, and here we've got brackets. 3 plus 1 is 4. I'll solve that first. The second step, well, we've got division, addition, and we've got an indices. Step number 2 says I must solve the indices next. So I've got 2 to the power of 3. That means I write 2 out 3 times, and each time I put a multiplication symbol in between. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So the answer to that is going to be 8, and I want to write it just above the indices. Next on the list, we have to look for any division or multiplication that might need to get done. And here we do have division. So I've got 12 divided by 4. How many groups of 4 are in 12? Well, there are 3. So now we see that everything in between this bracket and this number 12 is actually equal to 3. And we can finally do our addition, or any subtraction if there was any. 3 plus 8, and we end up with 11. On to problem C. We're going to start with our brackets, and in here we've got 9 plus 1. Well, that's 10. And now we'll go to the outer brackets, and they're a different shape, and it does not matter what kind of shape or size they are. All we're really interested in is what's on the inside first. Those are the brackets we will do first. And no matter what they look like, the brackets that are outside of that, we'll do them next. We've got 10 minus 10, and that is equal to 0. And what that tells us that everything between this bracket and this bracket is equal to 0. 7 plus 0 is 7. Oh, we've got a lot of brackets in this one. Well, we know just what to do. We'll start at the inside and we'll work our way out. 10 plus 4 is 14. 14 divided by 7, that's the next bracket out. Well, there's 2 groups of 7 and 14. And now the last bracket has a subtract 2. 2 subtract 2, I end up with 0. So again, everything in this whole group of brackets is equal to 0. And now I've got 17 times 0. And 17 lots of 0, well, that's still 0. Now here's an interesting one. You've got a problem on top and a problem on the bottom. What you need to do is solve the top, solve the bottom, and then divide the bottom up into the top. So it looks like this. 20 plus 4, that's 24. And then 16 minus 4, that's 12. I've solved the top, solved the bottom. Now the bottom number gets divided up into the top number. How many 12s are in 24? Well, there are 2 exactly, with no remaining. Now on to F. We've got brackets, so we're going to zoom in on them first. 7 minus 5 gives us 2. The next bracket to the outside is 13 plus. 13 plus 2, that's 15. Okay, now there are 2 operations left. And I know that everything within these brackets is equal to 15. I now have addition and division. What do I do first? According to my order of operations, division and multiplication must get done before addition or subtraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do the division first. 15 divided by 3. The answer to that is 5. So now there's this one finished. So everything between this bracket and the end of this 3 is equal to 5. Now I can do my addition. 5 plus 5, that's 10. Now for the last example, here I've got multiplication, I've got addition, I've got 2 brackets, multiplication, and I've got division at the bottom. Well, let's just start with the rules, shall we? First of all, there's the brackets. Now, there's two sets of brackets. One's got addition, one's got multiplication. And I might just go ahead and do the multiplication first because I'm in the habit of always doing multiplication before subtraction. 2 times 4, that's 8. Now for the addition, 3 plus 6, well that's 9. Now I can take what's inside this bracket and what's in this bracket and multiply them together. 9 times 8 is 72. And now 8 divided by 4. Well, there's two groups of 4 and 8, so I can put that 2 here. Now divide the bottom number into the top number. 2 goes into 72 36 times, and that's my answer. Now it's your turn. Have a go at the problems. Good luck with them, and I'll see you back again in the next video.